Hello and welcome to the Menopause Belly. I'm Lizzie Lasater. Here with us, teaching us, making us laugh is the wonderful Mary Richards. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Lizzie.
Hi, everyone who's here. Jump into the chat and let us know where in the world you're zooming in from. I'm in Salzburg, Austria. Hello from Tacoma, Washington. Hello from Wisconsin, Ohio, Chicago, Oxfordshire, Georgia, Montana, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Greece, Detroit, London, San Francisco. Hello, 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 yoginis. Oh, such a delight to be here with you. We have such a treat for the next hour. Mary has planned a very brief lecture conversation, some key points about our hormones, about the menopause belly, and then we're going to practice, get on our mats. There are some planks, multiple planks listed, Mary. I noticed in the outline a little bit, feeling some resistance. And then we will end with shavasana. I want to let you know that I am taking notes for everyone, and there will be a PDF included with the recording. The way to get the recording is to be on one of our newsletter lists. I've also published the recording of Monday's session with Mama that was called Yoga Beyond Menopause. And that's at my YouTube channel. So if you just go to YouTube and search Lizzie Lasater, you can find that. Mary Richards, what is the big idea for today? The menopause belly. What does that even mean? What are we talking about?
Well, I think in the pop culture now, the meno belly is often referred to as the change in waist circumference that accompanies the menopause transition. It's no surprise, especially if you're going through the transition right now, or you're on the other side, you're postmenopausal, that you have perhaps more fat around your middle than you've ever had in your life. Well. And this is because as our estradiol, which is a type of estrogen, we have several different types of estrogen, but we are going to focus mainly today on estradiol. As that goes down, as we progress through perimenopause and through the menopause transition, waist circumference goes up. We put down more belly fat. And there are a couple of reasons for this. So not only is our estradiol going down, but our testosterone is staying steady. So ovaries are secreting less estrogen, but they're still secreting testosterone and other androgens. And estrogen inhibits testosterone in terms of fat distribution. So if we compare sex, male versus female, males tend to have more fat in their midsection, and females tend to have more fat in the pelvis and thighs. And this is for obstetric reasons. We need our energy stores around our pelvis and our thighs to support the functions of reproduction. And so estradiol goes down, testosterone stays the same. Some people may even go up a little bit. So there's more opportunity for fat to deposit around the middle.
Ooh, ooh. Okay. So let us know in the chat, first of all, if you're willing to share with the group, where are you on your menopause journey? So I'm pre-perimenopause. I'm still having regular periods. Perimenopause is the 5 to 8 year phase where things start to get a little wonky, where we experience the symptoms, the hot flushes, as Mary calls them. And then postmenopause would be after 12 months of no period. So let us know. I'm seeing a lot of perimenopause, a lot of post, peri, lots of peri in the group today. Okay. So I want to share my screen with you and show you this course, Somatic Woman, that we have just opened, and it's starting on May 8th. Mary is co-teaching with my mom, Judith and Lasater. And I'm going to show you that for about 2 minutes, and then we will jump into the Menopause Belly conversation with Mary. So here it is. Okay, first I want to show you, if you go to my website here, LizzieLasater.com, and you click on YouTube, accept all. And if you get here and then you go to videos, it's this Yoga Beyond Menopause. This is the recording from the session that we just did recently with my mom. And the PDF for the class will be here. So after this session, when you go here within a couple of hours, hopefully, to my YouTube, you will also find the recording for this class, and the PDF notes will be right here as a Dropbox link that you can find. Clear? Give me a yes in the chat if that made sense. You're going to find your way to my YouTube. While you're there, you might as well subscribe. And then you can find the recording for this video in the PDF with any books Mary mentions or links. Now, this is the Somatic Woman course. If you go to lasater.yoga, www.lasater.yoga, you're going to find your way down here. Somatic Woman, we're so proud of this course. We've been outlining it. How long would you say, Mary, we've been working on this course?
Oh, we started planning last year, Lizzie, like last summer.
I remember a hike with you at the Feather Pipe Ranch in Montana where we were talking about this course.
Yeah, yeah.
Starting to kind of dream about this course.
Yeah.
So it's open for pre-order now. And what that means is you're not going to pay. The big benefit of pre-ordering is you're not going to have to pay $550. We're doing a $100 pre-order discount. When you click into the course at Somatic Woman, it starts on May 8th. So that's when pre-enrollment ends. And that's when our first class starts together. So I'll just briefly scroll through the enrollment page. Here's a video you might want to come back and watch. This is the teaching team from Experiential Anatomy. Let us know in the chat if you've taken Experiential Anatomy. That was a course that Mary taught. If you're not familiar with Mom or with Mary, you can read their bios here. We talk about reclaiming and reinventing. Those are our guiding principles in this course. It's a course about menopause, the transition. So for those of you who are pre-perimenopause or perimenopause, it applies. But we also focus on this beyond piece. So it's not just for, if you've already gone through the change, I think this course is going to be very interesting, especially for the other women in your life, and especially if you teach yoga. Then here you can look through the curriculum. This is explaining what's happening each month. It's a 6-month course, and there's a live session each month where we gather with either Mom or Mary to do a 2-hour lecture practice Q&A. Here's a little bit about those 6 live Zoom classes that we're going to do. Of course, they're all recorded because I know some of you live in Australia, so the time zones are terrible. But we'll meet May, June, July, then August, we'll take August off, and then September, October, November. And these are on the new moons. We've decided to try that with this course. So they move around on the days. It's like, because I know some of you work every Wednesday or something. So this time, hopefully you'll be able to join at least a couple of the sessions live with us. I want to let you know that this is a cohort-based course, this Somatic Woman. And what that means is you're starting with a group of students together, and you're moving through the course together. This has a lot of benefits. You can start to grow friendships in our discussion board or connect with people who are in the course. Some students who have done cohort courses with us have even met up in the real world after meeting each other on a course. But it has this helpful accountability quality. I will be emailing you each month and reminding you of the live Zooms. And so we hope that this cohort experience combines kind of the best of both worlds. There's some pre-recorded material, including science talks from Mary each month, and you can do those at your own pace. But the themes and the discussions and the live sessions happen on a schedule with other students. I'll scroll down a little bit. Is this course for me? I've mentioned that it's for pre-perimenopause, perimenopause, and menopause women. It's also great for yoga teachers or for serious students. It's not really a teacher-focused course, so don't feel like you would be in a group of just yoga teachers in the course. Here's some of the Q&A, the FAQs, the nitty-gritty here. And then the last thing I'll say before we dive into today's material about the Menopause Belly is about the different ways to enroll. So if you pre-enroll before May 8th, it's only $450 with that $100 discount. You can do that either with a single enrollment here or with monthly payments, 6 monthly payments. So those are those two options. We're also offering for the first time a bundle, and this is only available during this pre-enrollment period from now until May 8th. And then this bundle option is going to disappear from this page. You won't find it anymore. And it's an amazing deal. So you would pay $750 or $125 times 6. These are US dollars for international students. And what you get in the bundle is essentially Somatic Woman, the full course, plus you're going to get Mary's amazing course, Somatic Strength, and Mama's course, Shavasana Intensive. So those are kind of, interestingly, Mary, I'm kind of just thinking that the strength piece and the Shavasana piece are kind of two of the big themes of the course, Somatic Woman.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
If I could add to that, Lizzie, you know, we tend to think about estrogen, for instance, only as it relates to our reproductive system function, but estrogen actually is a really potent regulator for myriad systems and functions in the body. And somatic strength in particular addresses the muscle tissue and bone tissue losses that often accompany the aging process that are then profoundly influenced by the menopause transition and post-menopause. And the Shavasana intensive then really helps address the sort of neurology of the transition, because estrogen is actually related to many processes within our central nervous system, as well as in our nervous system, our autonomic, our autopilot nervous system regulation. It's a great bundle. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so this is where you're going to find the course, Somatic Woman. You're going to go to www.lasater.yoga, and you're going to take a look at it after this session. We're gathered here today to talk about the Menopause Belly. So where do you want to start with that? I mean, I'll say I'm 41, and I already feel like my belly is such a, it responds to my monthly cycle very strongly. And this seems like it's even getting more intense, maybe post twin pregnancy. Things are just a little bit more loose, but like I feel that the belly is really changing throughout the month.
Oh, because it is. Yeah, because it is. And here's the thing, this is important to discuss because it's not just in our heads. Okay, estrogen again is a profoundly powerful regulatory hormone, and combine it with progesterone, there's a lot happening. You know, progesterone affects our emotional regulation. Estrogen affects our mood and behavior regulation. And of course, it affects our motility, the movements within our GI tract. It affects fluid retention, inflammation processes, etc. So We're not making this up. And then as we progress through life and move in the direction of post-menopause, and these hormone levels change, and sometimes they change very dramatically, most of us can expect a gradual transition to postmenopause over the course of 7 to 11 years. It's long, but some folks have sudden onset, whether because it's related to their genetics or because they've required a total hysterectomy that doesn't just remove the uterus, the cervix, the fallopian tubes, but also removes the ovaries. And so you can have sudden onset. All right. So these changes are real, and they vary as well. And, we on average can expect to gain 1.5 kilos per year, about 3.3 pounds per year through the menopause transition. And it's not, and here you are, you're lifting weights, hopefully. You're doing cardio, you may be intermittently fasting, you may be, cycling macros and, trying to figure out your carbs and your protein and all that. And yet you continue to gain weight and your waist circumference continues to increase and you can't figure it out. And that's because you're swimming against a biochemical river.
Okay, I want to know in the chat. Give a yes if that describes you, what Mary just said. You feel yourself in this phase slowly gaining weight, even though you're doing some of those things.
Yeah.
Cardio, exercise, fasting. Oh my God, so many yeses. Absolutely, absolutely. They're all.
Yeah. And then there's been this, I saw someone ask, please tell me I'm not recommending intermittent fasting. I'm not. I'm just pointing that out, that has been something. Intermittent fasting has made it into like the TikTok social media influencer stuff about using intermittent fasting to address the Menopause belly. We can talk about that during the heart week, the menopause heart. Okay. But no, I'm not. I'm just saying you may be doing all of these things. You may be throwing, the pasta at the wall, trying to get it to stick, and nothing's changing. And that's because your hormones are changing. And so you're really working against a lot of resistance. And so what can we do?
Yeah. What can we do, Mary?
Well, so first of all, it helps to understand what's happening, that as estradiol goes down, testosterone stays approximately the same, and follicle stimulating hormone goes up. You're going to have a change in your waist circumference. Some of us more than others, because everybody's unique, just like everyone else. Okay. So part of it is making peace with the process. Truly. I know no one likes to hear that, but I've had a lot of injuries and health drama. I myself have had hysterectomy, though I did keep my ovaries. I was saying to Lizzie,
who are refusing to quit.
They refused to quit. Lizzie and I were talking before we came on live. I had just gone to my doctor, my gynecologist last week, and found out that, okay, I had my hysterectomy. I kept only my ovaries. Everything else was surgically evicted. And I'm not even close to menopause. Like, it's crazy. And my doc was like, you just come in here throwing curveballs, and they're fast curveballs. I'm like, I know, this is what I do. I'm supposed to learn all of this stuff so I can pay it forward. And so, some of us have been through hysterectomy, et cetera. That changes things. And so part of it, is making peace with our new normal. And again, this is something I've struggled with for a long time, from orthopedic interventions and sports injuries to, having my uterus and fallopian tubes and cervix removed. And so a lot of it, honestly, is our mindset. And this is where restorative yoga can really help, but also active asana, because active asana combined hopefully with the strength training, I believe helps us adjust, because movement for me reinforces autonomy. It's empowering.
Mm. Mm.
Okay. So that's the first piece, is what's our relationship with this transition that we are going to go through if we're fortunate enough to live long enough, right? So there's that. And the other piece of it is, how do we use our yoga practice to prevent, prolong, or slow some of the more difficult aspects of the menopause transition. Okay, so
Okay. Yeah, what are you talking about there?
one of the things that accompanies the menopause belly is our risk for metabolic syndrome and type 2 diabetes goes way up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is a combination of hormonal changes, decreased estradiol, and aging. Okay, everyone's risks for metabolic syndrome go up as waist circumference goes up. So exercise, profoundly important. But the other thing that occurs is, as we age, especially with estrogen going down, is our pelvic muscles atrophy. That's why I like planks. All kinds of planks and other pelvic integrative exercises, which Lizzie, a couple of weeks ago, we recorded an active class, the lumbo-pelvic hip integration training
Okay,
series.
that's what Mary wanted to call it. Okay, people, this is what Mary, like in all seriousness, wanted to call a class for YouTube. I was like, how am I going to fit this on the thumbnail? Lumbo, pelvic. Wait, say it again, Mary. Lumbo.
Lumbo-pelvic hip integration training series.
I mean, like rolls off the tongue. I'm finding the link right now for everyone. I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm going to put it in the notes. This is an amazing class. Here you go. Here it is. So I changed it for YouTube to be pelvic integration series,
Which is exactly what it is. And this is so important for us because as estrogen goes down, and let's say you've had a couple of full-term pregnancies, or you've made it, into the second trimester of pregnancy, whether you've had vaginal birth or not, maybe you've had a history of hemorrhoids, constipation, endometriosis, etc. The female pelvic floor has special needs. We have special needs for it. And those muscles, as estrogen goes down, we tend to lose muscle tissue at a faster rate. And the pelvic floor, because of the fact that we have 3 outlets, the urethra, vagina, and anus, just inherently less structural integrity, if you will, and combine that with aging and gravity,
Mm. Mm.
prolapse is real. And so it's profoundly important for us, especially if we have any obstetric history, meaning, we've, been pregnant, had babies. But here's the thing, just having a menstrual history, we've experienced all these volumeric changes with our monthly cycle. And,
So having a female body is a risk factor, is what you're saying, Mary.
It's a risk factor. Yeah. Yeah. It's just we're more complex.
But I could have told you that. So, okay, what I want to do now, because we could chat forever, Laura is saying you're changing my life, Mary Richards, right now. I agree. If you haven't studied with Mary before, you're going to just love studying with her in Somatic Woman. And you have such a beautiful way, Mary, of mixing the science with the accessibility with your decades of yoga practice. It's
Thank
so
you.
fun to work with you. So what I want to do is just double check. I'm going to share my screen and look at these key points, which I've captured. These are the notes, and make sure that we have everything that you need before we move to the mat, because we have 35 minutes left. So, okay, key point that you mentioned was this, the relationship between estradiol and testosterone.
Yeah.
Then you
And
talked
follicle
about,
stimulating hormone. Yeah.
okay. So you want to say a follicle stimulating hormone also goes up?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we talk about that,
So,
of course, why we need to know that. Yeah.
yeah. So the making peace, that seemed like a big important point for me. Restorative yoga and active asana is empowering and helps us to adjust
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to this phase. And then how do we use our yoga practice to prevent, prolong, or slow some risks of metabolic, or slow the risks of
Mm-hmm.
metabolic syndrome and
Mm-hmm.
type 2? Anything else that needs to go here in the notes, Mary? When you look at your notes in front of you, anything that I've missed?
Just know that this is just a taster.
Yeah,
Okay. We talk about this far more extensively in the science talks. There's so much going on. It's actually really exciting because our practice can really help us.
good. Okay, and then last thing I'll just show is the practice which we're hoping to do right now. Derotational plank, bilateral plank, restorative twist, supported child's pose, and shavasana. So plank pose, I want to just ask before we get to it, knowing you and having studied with you, Mary, I'm guessing that you're not saying we need to do plank pose because we need to try to stay looking skinny and toned throughout this transition. Knowing you, it seems like, what is your attitude about that? Because if someone saw the sequence that you're starting with plank, they might be thinking that this class is about kind of fighting the menopause belly or getting rid of the menopause belly. Is that what you're offering, or is that your philosophy?
Oh, no. See, core stabilization, the ability to manage the weight of the pelvis in the context of gravity and to support the natural curves of the vertebral column is a fundamental movement skill that we have to sustain through the life cycle, especially as we're confronting these hormonal changes of the menopause transition and we're losing muscle and bone tissue. We absolutely have to do core training to sustain smooth, efficient, controlled movement.
Okay, I'm going to add that as the last point of your key points. Core training is essential um, for function, not aesthetics.
Yeah.
Like that we're not coming at it from an aesthetic perspective. Also in the course, that's not really our attitude about, we don't want to be fighting the body.
Yeah,
That's what
no,
I've learned a
no.
lot
No, and the
from you and
body
mom.
wants to move. We're bioengineered to move. And so we want to cultivate these skills, especially as we age. We've got some wear and tear. You may have, compressed discs, uh, ankylosing spondylitis, et cetera. You might have stuff going on at a skeletal level. And core stabilization is just one of those must-haves. And the great thing is all of these plank variations can be done at a wall or with your arms on a table or on a chair. We just adjust the amplitude and the intensity by changing our body position vis-a-vis gravity. But we need these skills. We need to have stability 360 degrees. And
Mm.
and also, if I can talk a little bit about the neurology, uh, if you are experiencing more stress reactivity. Okay. If you find yourself anxious, or what I like to call meno rage, okay, which is a real thing. It helps to do plank pose because it helps to get into the iliopsoas complex, because that actually has a regulatory role. And when we challenge the iliopsoas complex, the iliacus and the psoas major in a plank pose, it can help us calm down.
Okay, so I'm going to move to the mat. Let me just close this. I'm going to pin myself, spotlight myself. So I'm big. Mary's still here with us. Okay, I'm reluctantly moving towards plank.
Oh, come on now. This is fun. And we're not going to stay for too long. This is the thing. Not going to spend 4 hours in a plank. We're not trying to make it into the Guinness Book of World Records. All right.
Okay.
So we're just going to start now. Listen, if you have any health conditions, you've got numbness or tingling down into your feet, or you're concerned about the strain on your heart, I want you to do this at the wall. The wall becomes your floor. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if you're on the mat, I want you to come to all fours and put your forearms comfortably on the mat. Elbows, make sure you've got space between your elbows, so that you use your collarbone width to determine the width of your arm placement. Your palms can be down. You can make fists with the hands. It's up to you. Press down into your forearms and now walk your knees back. So you can keep your knees down the entire time if you want. If you're using the wall, you're just going to step your feet away from the wall. Keep all 10 toes curled under. Take a little bit more weight toward the little toe sides of the feet if you're on the mat. And then if you'd like, you want more load, keep pushing through your heels until your knees lift off the mat. Okay, so here we are in what's called the bilateral forearm plank. I want you to now set your dominant elbow forward comfortably. Just place it forward, about a half a hand width on the mat. This can be great for your shoulders. Again, just take some load off it, because adhesive capsulitis or frozen shoulder, just stay here longer than you'd prefer. Do this at the wall if you've got shoulder concerns. But do you feel, Lizzie, how by placing one elbow forward of the other, you really feel that side of the waist?
Yes.
Yes, handle of your lateral stabilization subsystem. Realign your elbows, bring your knees down and rest if you need. We just take 4 rounds of breath and then come back into your version of the forearm plank, and then set the other elbow forward an inch or two. Okay, so your elbows are not on the same plane. We're changing the load by adding an element of asymmetry.
Yes, really. It's such a small change, but it feels so different.
Yeah, yeah. This is hugely helpful for us. And, if you experience low back pain, SI joint dysfunction, etc., this can be really helpful. Rest when you're ready, realign the elbows, and then rest when you're ready. And I like to do this 3 times, because all good things come in threes. But now you have the idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we come into the symmetrical forearm plank. Okay. I'm paying attention to time, Lizzie.
Okay, good.
So now you're in the forearm plank, and this is much easier. Yes.
Yes.
And it's different. Do you feel the difference?
Yes.
Okay. Now I want you to think about really hugging your bladder up into your sacrum. Just think about pulling your bladder up into your body. Now, when you do that, Do you feel how your ASIS kind of drag toward one another?
It made me feel like a tucking. It
Yes,
made me
yes.
tuck my pelvis.
That's normal here. That's normal.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I say stop though.
I know. I'm sweating.
So no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Rest when you're ready. Rest when you're ready. So we want to spend about 10 rounds of breath. But listen, one round of breath may be where you are today, and that's okay. A little yoga goes a long way. Great, great, great. So just keep breathing into your side and back ribs and rest when you're ready.
I feel in my arms a lot too. My arms are
Great.
tight.
Yeah. Do you feel it all around your where your arm bone comes into your body?
Yeah, here and the biceps,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, yeah. So this forearm plank version can be really helpful for folks with rotator cuff injury because you're at 90 degrees of shoulder flexion, and this, so it's helpful, okay,
Hmm.
to be in 90 flexion, and then you're not coming past 90 uh degrees in the shoulder. So you can do this with your knees down or at the wall, and you
Hmm.
really push away from the wall or the floor, and this can help rehabilitate shoulders. And shoulder situations are really common in the menopause transition because as estrogen goes down, our joints tend to stiffen up and our tissues all get dry.
Hmm.
You feel, Lizzie,
So
how when you push away from the wall, you still get all that shoulder activation?
yeah, it feels like it's just turning down the volume on the pose. That's like a 30% of the pose. And then this is like, maybe an 80% or 70% of the pose. And then this is 100% of the intensity
Yeah.
for me.
Now, the key is, okay, that we're not setting our elbows ahead of our shoulders, because if you have rotator cuff
Like that.
issues, you're going to entrap part of your rotator cuff if you move past 90 degrees.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it gets so
Enough
much,
of that. Enough of that,
yeah, now
Mary.
it gets so much better. But see, if you do these derotational planks a little bit every day, okay, in sets of 3, if you feel up to it, you don't even have to do this trio of exercise 3 times in a row. You could do a morning trio of derotational plank and forearm plank, and then you could do an afternoon and an evening, okay? You spread the wealth. All right. But the key is when you're in the derotational plank that you set your dominant elbow forward first.
Hmm.
Why do you think that is, Lizzie?
Because that for me, that right side tends to bully the left side or something, or that side is stronger. And so then I'm kind of making it work first, making it tired first.
Did you notice when you were in the derotational plank? So Lizzie's right-handed. Did you notice, Lizzie, when your right elbow was forward, it was harder on that side than when your left was forward?
No, let me now feel that. Yeah.
That's because of the functional scoliotic overlay from dominance, from handedness.
Hmm.
So your dominant side is going to be a little longer than your non-dominant side. So that's why we want to shorten that dominant side a little bit first, concentrically contract it, and then we move to the non-dominant and back to the dominant side. Does this make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Sneaky, sneaky functional training, always with me. Okay, so you would do the derotational planks. You would go dominant, non-dominant, dominant, and then a bilateral forearm.
Symmetrical.
Yep,
Okay.
symmetrical. All right. And you do
Yeah.
that 3 times a day. And you try to hold each body position for up to 10 rounds of breath. But it's okay.
That's what I love about somatic strength with Mary is that it's all breath based. It's not some kind of imposed concept from the outside in. We're doing these functional strength moves from the inside out using the breath, which is speaks to me as a yoga person. It's like, oh, this is strength training, but for me, like I already get this. I already know how to work with the breath.
Yes, exactly. And then you're also getting a more accurate feedback about your level of exertion. And that's what counts. The way we change tissue, bone and muscle tissue, if you will, is by being aware of where we're starting. We have to know where we are before we can move in the direction of where we'd like to be.
I agree. And I also think that way of doing functional movement training with you, Mary, with the breath, it's another way of training interoception, which is what I'm doing on the yoga mat, is trying to be more in touch with the real-time experience of my body. That's what I've been doing in meditation. It's what I'm doing in active asana. It's what I'm doing in restorative. And I love the somatic strength piece as a way of adding strength training, which we talk about in the course as being essential 40 plus, that we're doing more strength training. But when I heard that years ago, I thought, ugh, I don't want to join a gym. Like I just don't, it didn't grab me. But this way of doing it, if I can do it from my yoga mat with some little bands and with my breath.
Yeah, and we can incorporate these things into our lives. And this is the thing about this course, Somatic Woman, is we're really welcoming all of ourselves to move through this transition and into the sunset years of our life. Because here's the reality too, once we make it through the menopause transition and we're in postmenopause, it's been 12 months since we've had our final menstrual period. Well, the risk factors for metabolic syndrome and the like stay elevated for 10 to 15 years.
Mhm.
Okay, so we don't just, we need time and adaptation. And isn't that life?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I think I'm so optimistic about it. I feel so privileged to live through it, I guess.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Tell me about our next pose,
So next
which
we're going to
is,
do a supported twist, a restorative twist. And so this is where you'll need a couple of blocks and a bolster, and you might need some blankets. And Lizzie is going to get
yeah,
set
how do
up.
you want to do it? Do you want me to show it the way mom teaches it, or do you have a slightly different variation?
I do it the way your mom teaches it because that's where I learned it. But I also will sometimes vary it. I like what you're doing right now, Lizzie, with the round bolster under the rectangular. I like to have blocks or some such to rest my hands on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I like to have a blanket on the mat to pad my bum. I did so much of the restorative twists when I was experiencing menorrhagia in 2019. And forgive me, folks, if this is TMI. I bled for 289 days. And I had 5 hospitalizations, critical care unit, all of this stuff. And so I used this to relieve discomfort in my uterus and also to try and kind of close things down, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was so soothing to me. So, how the side you twist to is up to you. Now, personally, I tend to twist to the right first because of the liver.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I love that. I'm gonna just show to the left first because I'm already here. Um, I am just sitting in kind of a loose Bharadvajasana. Some people like to put padding between their legs here. I don't need it. Um, I'm opting for simplicity, just 2 bolsters, a block, 2 pillows, and 2 blankets. Um, and then I really like to take a blanket and wrap around my kidneys,
Yeah.
just adding a kind of soothing. And then I've got one of my kids' dadas, they're little loveys that I call the Mama Yoga Dada, and it lives in this little, and I tell them not to take it, but some kind of scarf to cover your eyes is nice here. And I'm sitting really close to the bolster. Now, I'm using 2 bolsters here, but you don't have to use 2 bolsters. You could replace this bottom bolster with, this could actually be leaning up against my couch. It could be leaning up against a low chair. It could be, you could place other pillows or rolled blankets under here. The idea is that there's this roughly 45-degree angle that is going to receive the body. And I'm going to remember that the back hip does not hang back. The back hip is coming up and over like a horse jumping up and over in one of those riding competitions. I'm always getting videos of my niece, who's a very talented horse rider, and the horse jumps up and over, and this pelvis is jumping, the right side of the pelvis is jumping up and over the femur, so that we are keeping the sacroiliac joint together. The base of the pelvis, the back base of the pelvis is moving together. I'm not hanging that right pelvis back. It comes with me into the twist.
That's right. You keep your pelvis together like the bony ring that it is.
And then
you're turning your sacrum in the direction of the bolsters. Think of your sacrum as your rudder.
Okay, and then mom likes to teach her breathing where she does inhale, exhale completely, and then you twist.
Yep.
Inhale, exhale completely, and you twist. And then as you come down, you might need to adjust slightly, turn the head, remove the microphone, and you're here. I like to cover the eyes. And prop the hands in a way that they land above the elbows.
Yeah. And just know sometimes you've got to move some of your soft tissue out of the way. Okay. You may have breast tissue you need to move out of the way, or belly tissue you need to move out of the way. You just draw those tissues in the direction that you're twisting. You just, slide them over.
How long do you stay here, Mary?
I like to spend about 10 minutes on each side.
Wow.
Yeah. I sometimes, when I was really struggling, well, honestly, to stay alive, when I was really struggling, I would spend 20 minutes on each side. I found this restorative twist just to be so soothing for me, and I felt so safe in it. And it's so great if you're experiencing constipation or other GI distress because of the way we are compressing the organs of the belly.
Okay, I'm going to just show the other side briefly.
You want to spend, I would say, at least 3 minutes on each side. So that's about 36 rounds of breath. So you can count your rounds of breath, or you can set a timer. It's really up to you. Okay. But please go by feel. That's what's most important. And the reason why I like to start to the right is not only because of the liver. We tend to, because of the liver, we tend to not have as much rotation to that side. And so we don't spend as much time in it. It's much easier to twist to the left.
Interesting. Okay, I'm putting down this white cloth now just so you can see the contrast with my yoga tights, because I want to show one thing to remind people as we come in here. There is a tendency, this back hip is moving up and over, and there's a tendency for this bottom hip to get a little bit crunched. So before you lean forward, it can feel really nice to kind of release that hip away. I'm lengthening this bottom waist a little bit. It's almost like a triangle pose move, like shifting that pelvis slightly away on the side.
Totally. And I love how you're drawing the props into you, Lizzie, because we don't want to reach for the props. The props are there to receive us. Draw them close to you.
What about those of us who are still having a monthly cycle, Mary? Do you practice this pose when you're on your period?
I did.
Hmm.
I know that there's some difference of opinion about twists during the cycle and the like, but personally, I found this really relieving for bloating and
Mm,
constipation. I really
okay.
liked it.
But definitely, I would say not if you're pregnant, correct?
Oh, goodness, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you get past 14 to 16 weeks, let's not, with pregnancy, let's not practice this pose.
I had a moment, I think I was 16 weeks. I had maybe it was earlier. I had a moment because I remember I was teaching in Paris, a restorative teacher training, and I was practicing in my room before the workshop. And I was lying on my belly doing Cobra. I was pregnant with my twins. And I had this very strong kind of intuition voice that was like, and this is the last time you will lie on your belly. Like it was like, ding. So I think as well during pregnancy, we know if you're listening to your body, but we just always say, oh, Simone is saying it feels so good, the twist. We're very conservative, I would say. We're on the conservative side of the yoga world about pregnancy.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too, I want to talk quickly about the neck. Most folks need to keep their chin aligned with their breastbone. Okay. So you need to have your face in the same direction as your knees. If you're experiencing neck pain, some of us need to put a folded blanket or a small pillow under the head to change the angle of the head and neck for comfort. Now, I'm one of those people, I'm part owl, so I do turn my head and neck in the direction
More.
twist, but that's
Don't
me.
force it. Don't
Don't
force it. Yeah.
force it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some
Don't, I
folks
wouldn't
need to rest.
tolerate, sorry, I wouldn't tolerate any pain in a restorative
Oh,
pose.
goodness, or any pose.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Pain is an indication that something needs to change immediately. Some folks like to face the bolster, and so it's helpful to have a rolled cloth or a fat eye bag or even the edge of a blanket under the forehead and rest your forehead, but play with your head position, okay?
Yeah. Okay, let's show there's two more poses on your outline, a supported child's pose and then a restorative shavasana. So let's show those setups. I
Okay.
don't go
So
ahead.
for the supported child's pose, you may be thinking, my knees, my knees. You need, you may need to sit up on blocks.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
may need a rolled blanket in the back pocket of the knees. You may need
Yes.
to lift your bolster that we're going to rest in child's pose on. You may need to lift it higher. Okay.
Yeah. The good news about these poses, why this is a well thought through sequence from Mary, is that they use a very similar setup. So if you're teaching a restorative class, they're great two poses to put back to back.
Yeah.
Um, because this 45-degree angle, I'm just adding a little bit more padding. Okay, I'm gonna sit on a block in
Yes.
Virasana.
You may need to sit on a couple of blocks and blankets, or if you have an extra bolster, you can sit on it like a saddle.
Hmm.
Okay,
And
just
then
take pressure out of your knees.
I've learned from Mary to take my fingers into the back of my knees and just draw the flesh back. But some people, as she was saying, like to do a rolled cloth back there, kind of in the knee space. Let me see if I can demo that. Not
Yeah.
too thick.
Yeah, and we'll talk about
Ah,
these techniques, throughout the course because the monthly webinars, we're not just sitting and talking. We also
we're
have,
practicing.
we're practicing. And so we'll talk a lot about technique.
I would also do a blanket here if I
Mm,
had one. I would
yeah.
wrap a blanket around so that it's about opening this back body, these kidneys, and allowing them. I'm always tightening here
Mm-hmm.
or or sort of collapsing.
Yes, and so you can use the blanket because I'm tight. You can use the blanket to not only provide this warming effect for the kidneys and the back body, but you can also really cinch it around you to function like an external ligament, which will help sort of stabilize things. Now, I'll tell you, when I was bleeding regularly and then irregularly, I liked to have a thick blanket rolled up and placed in my belly cavity. I
Yeah, I'm
like
feeling like I want
pressure.
more pressure here. I'm just trying with this one more pranayama bolster. No, I still want, I'm gonna, so as you're seeing in real time here, it's not about the perfect prop setup. It's about having the perfect sensation in the pose. So the
Yeah.
props themselves are not that important. It's like how you get there, how you get to the feeling of the pose.
Yes, yes. And this, we really, really want to think about recreating the archetypal shape of the child. You know how little kids curl up into little balls,
Yeah.
or if it's a fetus in utero, in that primary curve of the spine, we're evoking the primary curve of the body, the first curve that we have. And you just adjust the bolster so it's comfortable for you. Now, sometimes I'd like to be a little flatter. Sometimes I'd like to be more the way Lizzie is demonstrating right now, up a bit more. And the head position's up to you. You can turn, if you've got your head turned, just make sure after a few rounds of breath, you turn it to the other side.
And make sure that you let your shoulder blades soften. That's
Yes.
what I love about this bolster here is that the weight of my arms gets held.
Yes, or you can hook your fingers. You know how bolsters have a handle
Mm-hmm.
at the ends? You can also slide your hands under the bolster handle and let them wrap around the top of the bolster.
This is so
And breathe
nice, Mary.
out, breathe into the skin of the back. Okay, this is really important. As you inhale, I want you to feel the skin stretch across the back body. And as you exhale, feel it relax, slacken. So as you inhale, the back and side ribs expand. They stretch away from one another. And as you exhale, the ribs melt into the body. And take that breath sensation down across the back of the pelvis, inhaling and feel the skin stretch across your low back, across your sacrum and the back of the hips. And as you exhale, the skin softens. And if at any time you feel like you're resting on hot coals, adjust, make adjustments.
Mm. I'm reluctantly coming out because I think we should do shavasana now.
Yes.
Knowing Mary, we've run out of time.
So sorry. I'm terrible about that.
What variation would you like?
So I like to do, okay, so here we've done derotational plank, we've done the symmetrical forearm plank, we've done the restorative twist, we've done the restorative child's pose. Now I like to go into supported pranayama position.
Mm.
Okay, so we've done all of this stuff to kind of control or contain the belly space, if you will, to compress it and to help things move toward the feet. Now let's lift the heart and the head and open the belly space.
Okay, I like that. So I'm taking a blanket and folding it from Tadasana of the blanket, and I'm folding it lengthwise. And I'm going to fold 3 blankets like that and stack them on top of each other. I'm also going to show you this book, which has these restorative poses in them, if you
Yeah.
want to go deeper with chair child's pose. And there's a link to this in the notes as well, the PDF. But of course, we have to show Mary's book, which is so good. Let us know in the chat if you have this book, how much you love it. Okay, so pranayama shavasana. I'm gonna make these 3 blankets in a line here. And it's basically just to kind of elevate, as Mary said, my spine, the center of my spine, so that there can be an arch over. So my shoulders can open. There's like an arch across the chest this way.
Yes, and so your pelvis is on the mat, but you're
Yeah.
growing out of the basin of the pelvis, okay? And here's the thing. 1 blanket may be enough for you. All right. So Lizzie's using 3 blankets. I tend to use 3, sometimes 5. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. But 1 blanket may be enough. All right. Depending on how much kyphosis or convexity you have in your upper back.
Mm.
I want you to, play with your props. Take your time getting set up. And if you look at Lizzie's setup, you'll see she doesn't have her blankets perfectly stacked. They're not aligned perfectly because we need that stair step of the blanket so that it mirrors the contour of the low back and the sacrum.
Yeah, let me just spotlight me. And then, so this is what Mary was talking about, this kind of waterfall. Oh, you can't see it so well. Hold on, let me see if this adds a little more light contrast. I'm just putting this for aesthetics underneath for you to see. So that there's this kind of waterfall, 3 blankets on top of each other. And this I've turned this under to make a little pillow for my head. Let me turn on one more light as well. And then I'm gonna roll a blanket for my ankles.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a round bolster for my knees. This I'm gonna use to cover my eyes. You must cover your eyes.
Mm-hmm. And you may need extra blankets or a couple of blocks for your wrist supports. You want to make sure that once you get settled in this pose, you're not leaving your shoulders hanging out to dry. So little pillows like Lizzie's got, or your blocks, or folded blankets.
All right, I'm gonna show the setup and then I'm gonna come up and say goodbye because we're over our hour. But what I want to remind all of you, like what I just thought I'm gonna do, my partner and my kids know that I have this webinar, but they don't exactly know when it's supposed to be over. They're outside in the garden. So after I come say goodbye, I'm gonna come lie down here and set my timer for 20 minutes and do a
Yeah.
shavasana. So I encourage all of you after we say goodbye to give yourself that gift. The funny thing about restorative shavasana, which we stay for 20 minutes of silence, is that it seems like you don't have time to do it, but it gives you time. Some strange quantum fact of the universe that I can't explain, but every time I practice a restorative pose in the middle of my busy day, first of all, I'm always glad that I did, but it does make me calmer, not more productive, but just more clear, more capable of making decisions, all
Yes.
of these things. What would you say about that, Mary, as I demo the pose?
Absolutely. I think that when we designate a period of time daily for restoratives, we recognize how we want to spend our time.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so I think, oh, wow, that was 20 minutes in Shavasana. Oh, that was 20 minutes I did not spend stressing about my to-do list and not getting it
Mm-hmm.
done on it. or watching otter videos on Instagram, you know? Not that I ever do that. So,
Mm,
yeah, and it just it is so clarifying, and we have much improved resilience, and we're less reactive, and we are at home within ourselves. And when we feel at home within ourselves, we then are operating from a place of integrity.
mm. Mary, because I want to stay here for another 60 seconds, would you share with us the last thing? What is the importance of relaxation for the menopause belly? Tie it all together here.
Okay, so about 80 to 90% of our serotonin is actually in our small intestines. Okay, so serotonin, the well-being hormone, the overwhelming majority of it comes from our small intestines. And as estrogen goes down, as we age, it affects our emotional regulation. Okay. And so that's why we'll experience mood swings and the like. This happens during the menstrual cycle. It's because of
Mhm.
hormonal fluctuation. This isn't something that we're making up. We're not hysterical, to borrow the Greek term. No, no, this is actually occurring biochemically. And so by doing this pose, which opens the belly, lifts the heart, lifts the head, it facilitates our emotional regulation, and it gets us out of an anxiety loop. It gets us out of the stress loop. And we're going to actually release more serotonin the more comfortable we feel, the safer we feel. And this is going to improve our emotional regulation and turn down the volume in our limbic system, especially in our amygdala, which Bessel van der Kolk refers to as like the watchtower or the fire alarm of the nervous system, because our amygdala activity goes up as estrogen goes down.
Oh, Mary. So good. Let me show how to come out. You're gonna slowly, I'm doing this even faster than I would recommend. Bend one knee, then the other, and then roll yourself to the side. Stay here, maybe 4 breaths. And then you're gonna really let your head be heavy and come up to sitting. Let me come say goodbye. What a lovely class, Mary. Thank you so much.
It was truly my pleasure and privilege. Thank you. And thank you all so much for your time and attention. And I hope to see you on the mat.
Absolutely. We hope you will join Somatic Woman, which you can find here at www.lasater.yoga. It starts on May 8th. And everything Mary Richards is doing, you can find at her website, yogawithmaryrichards.com. My website shortcut is Lizzie, Lizzie.yoga. That takes you to lizzielasseter.com, where you can find my YouTube channel, this recording, the PDF notes, that other pelvic integration series class, etc. Okay, thank you so much for your time and your attention. I'm so grateful that you're all here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Inhale the breath, open the palms away from the body. With an exhalation, bring them together in front of your heart. Namaste.
Namaste.
May we live like the lotus at home in the muddy water. Go do Shavasana, everyone. We love you. Lots of love, Mary. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Lizzie. Thank you.